Washington today to face two fights, the federal budget and the costly buildup of U.S. forces in the Mideast.
The president is also preparing for a hastily called summit with Jordan's King Hussein, who reportedly is carrying a message to the president from Iraq's Saddam Hussein.
Eyewitness News reporter Pam Moore has more on the important relationship between the U.S. and Jordan, a neighbor and close ally of Iraq.
We've always been a friend of Jordan. We've helped them in the past. We'd help them in the future if they fulfill their obligations here.
President Bush downplayed the upcoming visit of King Hussein, saying the king requested the Thursday meeting. The king left for Washington today. The two leaders have a long-standing relationship from Mr. Bush's days as vice president. Yet even with King Hussein's approaching visit, the president says there is no sign of a diplomatic end to this crisis.
I don't see it right now, but as the sanctions begin to take effect, it's going to take a while, I would hope there would be a diplomatic solution to this crisis.
King Hussein met with Saddam Hussein immediately following the Kuwaiti invasion August 2nd, and again just yesterday. Their two countries have close financial and political ties. In fact, Jordan has provided the only route for supply trucks to get to Iraq. Ironically, though, King Hussein is viewed as a Western-oriented Arab leader. He and his American wife attended bicentennial ceremonies at Boston University just last year. The king is considered a moderate. Farouk El-Baz, a native of Egypt and professor at Boston University, is a friend of King Hussein. He told John Henning the king may be key to a solution.
The best person in the world that probably can do that is His Majesty King Hussein of Jordan, because President Saddam Hussein respects him very much, and they are allies in many ways, and the King Hussein has a vision of what this man really needs, and what does the West need, and what compromises are possible.
While hopes are running high that Thursday's meeting will produce positive results, that possibility has not slowed military activity in the Persian Gulf. These are the first pictures of U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia, now unofficially estimated to be 50,000 strong.
I was in Just Cause of Panama, too, so I'm kind of used to this kind of, atmosphere. But our biggest concern is chemical. We aren't, we never had to worry about that before.
The U.S.-led blockade continues. Two Iraqi ships hoping to load supplies to take back to Iraq were turned away by the United Arab Emirates. And today, the British intercepted a Cypriot oil tanker heading for Iraq. However, the British denied their action was part of the blockade and allowed the tanker to pass, possibly a sensitive reaction to criticism of the blockade by members of the United Nations. The blockade threatens to split Western leaders on this crisis. While most nations support the economic boycott, some, like France, say they will not participate in a blockade. President Bush discounted criticism of the blockade.
I don't think we've upset members on our policy of interdiction. We are acting within our legal rights. We have good opinions that we are acting properly, and I have no intention to change at all. I think it's important that others join in and do their part.
Yet today, Iraq's ambassador called for an end to the action.
We're only calling on the very international community that made the sanction to inform the United States to stop such such an action in international waterways.
Meanwhile, the Bush administration is making clear its loyalties are to Kuwait. In Washington, Secretary of State James Baker made a brief appearance with the exiled Deputy Foreign Minister of Kuwait.
Jordan's King Hussein is straddling a thin line in the Persian Gulf dispute, and possibly a dangerous one. His country's economy is closely tied to Iraq, so he has not committed his country to the UN Security Council's embargo against Iraq. Yet on the other hand, he still recognizes the exiled government of Kuwait. In the coming days, he may be forced to take a more clear position. Meanwhile, at the United Nations, there was discussion of a Soviet suggestion that the UN take a military